But today I was suddenly selected by the horror game next door as a player. Welcome to the S-level dungeon. Omori High School. At the beginning, I encountered a dungeon with a survival rate of only 0.1. The barrage lit a candle for me one after another. But at the moment when the dungeon boss saw me, he quickly put his head back on and nonchalantly blocked the corpse by his feet. Baby. Why are you here? Come on. Husband will take you to sleep. It's not good for girls to stay up late. The barrage exploded. Do horror dungeons have relatives now? The runaway little wife of the big boss? I also want to know how my dear boyfriend and classmates all became so strange in the horror game without me knowing. Welcome to the Omori High School dungeon. Players who survive in this dungeon for 3 days will pass the level. Initial players, 60. Currently alive, 60. I wish all players a happy gain. I was confused when I heard the system sound in my ear. Aren't I an NPC in a love game? How did I become a player in a horror game? First of all, I'm not called Hey. I'm Elena. Having money is amazing? You bunch of parasites of society. Then she would pick up her broken bicycle and ride away trembling leaving the school grass with an angry face and a luxury car with a dent. I would whisper to my best friend. That woman actually dares to treat Princess like this. Seriously. Isn't she running so fast because she is guilty? Now this gloomy campus stands on the wasteland, surrounded by endless white mist. The blood moon in the sky parted the clouds and gradually revealed itself. A man who looked like a social elite cursed loudly. What kind of show is this? You brought me here without my consent. I will sue you. The yellow-haired hooligan next to him kicked the school gate hard. What a crappy place. I don't believe in any horror game. Then he walked into the mist while cursing. Don't go into the mist. As soon as the words fell, that person screamed and turned into a blood mist and disappeared in front of everyone. The elite man was instantly scared and paralyzed on the ground. The man and woman who had just spoken came out and began to explain the horror game to everyone. It claimed to be old players named Brother Wang and X while Aunt had passed for dungeons. Only by passing 10 dungeons can one return to the real world. The timid players were directly scared to cry. Everyone had different expressions. Countless barrages popped up to laugh at these newcomers. They are so unlucky. They actually drew an S-level dungeon with a survival rate of only 0.1 at the beginning. It's over. It seems that there are only 2 old players in this round. It seems that it's another total annihilation round. I heard that the boss of this dungeon is very good-looking, but his temper is not very good. Anyway, we are all going to die. I would rather die in his hands. What's wrong with that female player? She is so calm. Could it be that some big shot is using a small account? I calmly looked at the big sign of Omori High School and the familiar scene. Why did the horror game catch me? A passerby NPC in the love game. To be a labor force? How did the place where I go to school every day become a horror dungeon? A head popped out from the guard booth at the gate. To be precise. He stretched out his bloody head with his hand. The female student next to her screamed in fright and was glared at by him. He smiled strangely at the players. Half of his brain exposed. And the surface was covered with maggots. There are so many transfer students today too. There are still 30 seconds before being late. Oh, these students nowadays. Xwala's face changed. Not good. Let's go quickly. If we don't go now, we won't be able to get in. The big iron gate of the school closed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The surrounding fog approached us. Everyone was so scared that they pushed and shoved each other and scrambled to squeeze into the school. I stepped into the school gate early and greeted the guard happily as usual. Caden. Good evening. No wonder you always complain about headaches. Half of your head is gone. Can it not hurt? Caden's cloudy eyes turned and he looked at me in shock. He quickly put his head back on. He smiled kindly at me. Mavis. Why are you coming to school so late? I was doing magic just now. Isn't it amazing? He tried hard to make me believe that what just happened was an illusion. I chuckled and waved. I already knew. You didn't take me with you when you were doing part-time jobs. He thought for a moment and then quickly closed the door. The barrage kept rolling non-stop. No, this newcomer still dares to greet the guard with a smile. That face of the guard uncle would give people nightmares. She is so brave. What's going on? Are they related? How do they know each other? What's the background of this female player? Has anyone seen her in other dungeons? In just 30 seconds, only the players who ran fast came in first. The others were all blocked at the door and wouldn't give way. Among them, an old lady with a mean face, seeing that she couldn't run in, desperately held the hand of a young man and asked him to pull her. Time's up. The people squeezed at the door were smashed into meat paste by the iron gate. Those who didn't come in were all swallowed by the fog and turned into blood mist. 50 people were instantly gone by half. The surviving players were paralyzed on the ground and gasped for breath. No one had time to notice the small movements between me and the security guard. Before everyone could recover, a woman in professional attire came over. Are you all transfer students? Why are there so few people? It was actually my class teacher. She always gently tutored me in my studies, and then earnestly persuaded me to study hard. After all, in this world where people can recite poems at the age of 3 and become hackers at the age of 5, I am too ordinary. Now her expression is stiff. The corners of her mouth are stretched to the back of her ears, and her sharp teeth are stained with unknown flesh and blood. Come on. I'll take you to the classroom. Don't fall behind. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that some student will mistake you for a snack. She glanced around and her pupils shook when her gaze fell on me. I quietly waved and grinned stupidly at her. The class teacher immediately closed her mouth and showed a guilty smile. She turned around to lead the way. Her movements were somehow stiff. There are 10 classes in the school. Players are randomly assigned. In my class, including me, there are only 3 players. A seemingly delicate little white flower, and the previous elite man. The little white flower dawdled D and didn't want to enter the classroom. The elite man pushed her in with one push. The classmates in the classroom all looked over in unison, like emotionals as puppets. They were grotesque and clapped expressionlessly. The teacher on the podium opened his scarlet mouth, and was a little excited. There are new classmates again. Find a seat and sit down. Don't sit in a wrong seat. The little white flower was so scared that she cried. She tearfully wanted to sit next to a seemingly normal girl. As a result, the elite man sat down first. The little white flower was about to cry with anger. Why are you like this? The elite man looked smug. Whoever grabs the seat first gets it. Find another one. She looked around and wanted to sit at the unoccupied double desk. The classmates around were eager to move. As a result, the barrage was unanimous. Danger. You can't sit there. It's the boss's exclusive seat. A little white flower seemed to sense danger and passed the 2 empty seats and sat next to another boy. I stepped into the classroom and smiled at the familiar classmates and teacher. Then I went straight to my original seat, which was the 2 empty seats surrounded by my classmates. The barrage popped up like crazy. Why is this newcomer so brave? Didn't you see that this seat is surrounded like a star? TSK. She's done for. She actually dares to sit in the boss's exclusive seat. Light a candle for her. She's dead as soon as she starts. Even if she is related, it can't save her. Who doesn't know that the boss of this dungeon doesn't recognize relatives? I sat in my seat innocently looking at the classmates around me. Nothing happened. The female classmate next to me kindly handed me a textbook. I gave her a big smile. Emiliana. Emiliana is my best friend. She slowly pulled out a stiff smile. Through her open mouth, I could see her empty brain. No wonder we are both love game NPCs. She can't even pass me. It turns out she has no brain. Emiliana seemed to see what I was thinking and gave me a big. How does she know the strange one is called Emiliana? Stupid. Isn't it written in the book? But this newcomer actually gained the favor of the strange one. What kind of lucky constitution is this? No way. Is this related person so tough? She's not dead yet. But when the boss comes back and sees someone sitting next to him, He will definitely chill her. Previously, as long as players sat in that seat, they would be eaten by the classmates around them. She is completely fine. Did she use some special item? The classmates were all shocked to see me who shouldn't be here. Their jaws dropped in various senses. The teacher coughed lightly on the podium and drew everyone's attention back. Nice to meet new classmates. In this case, let's do a little test. Students who can't answer will be punished. She casually pointed and called up the elite man. What is China's first long narrative poem? He was sweating coldly. Seeing me in school uniform was like seeing a savior. He kicked my chair and whispered, "Help me quickly. You must have just learned this, right?" He asked the wrong person. Although I am a high school student, but as a love game. Have you ever seen a high school where people study hard? He poked me with various small movements. Seeing that I had no intention of helping him, he angrily cursed, "Bitch. Don't you know this?" The gazes of the classmates around him were like sharp blades stabbing at him. His desk mate also gave him a big slap, and several teeth were knocked out. The teacher also put away her smile and stretched out her hand to pull off the hand that the elite man used to touch me. You are not serious in class. You can't even answer such a simple question. Then she ignored the man who was wailing while covering his wound and turned to look at the little white flower. You answer this question. She was tearful. Her brain was racing. She tentatively said, "Kong. Peacock flies to the southeast?" The teacher nodded in satisfaction, and then looked at me, ready to call me up to answer the question. It's my turn. I silently pulled up the class schedule to cover my face. My dear teacher. Don't you know me yet? Don't I always daydream in class? The teacher gently patted my shoulder and smiled brightly. Who is the author of Thoughts on a Silent Night? I let out a long breath. Just as I was about to answer, the classmates around me silently handed over a note. Li Bai. Even if I am unreliable, I know such a simple question. Okay. I gritted my teeth and spat out those 2 words. The teacher was relieved and let me sit down. The resentful eyes of the elite man were about to pierce me. The little white flower also quietly looked over. Is being good-looking so amazing? Why does it feel like everyone is spoiling her strangely? Complain. This horror game is unfair. Why is her question so simple? Who are you complaining to upstairs? After one class, a large number of players were gone again. Surviving players, 25. My best friend Emiliana gave me a gesture and winked. We ran to meet in the toilet. Why are you here? You already know. When I saw you, I was so scared that my eyeballs were about to fall out. Does your husband know that you are here? Were you not scared by us? Oh no. You're so scared that you can't even speak. If the boss knows, he will kill me. I covered her chattering little mouth. She's still my familiar best friend. I silently pushed her fallen eyeball back and looked at her not very intelligent eyes. I explained my current situation of being caught by the horror game to be a player. We are not NPCs in a love game. How come you are also doing part-time jobs? Why didn't you call me? Emiliana pouted. You got it wrong. I am a strange being in a horror game. I am doing part-time in a love game. It's not because of your man oppressing us. If it weren't for... Then she got stuck. Her eyeball popped out again. Her voice was so loud that it seemed to lift the roof. You know you are an NPC in a love game now. No. How did you know? I thought we were acting well. I nodded. Is it difficult? Whose high school class only lasts for 10 minutes? The remaining 40 minutes are used to watch players pursue romantically the school grass. Strange transfer students appear every day and claim to be players. The most important thing is that the obvious identity labels on everyone's heads are hard to ignore. Emilina's mind couldn't turn around. So she simply stopped thinking. It must be a system bug. In any case, you are on our side. How did you become a player? Let's go find the boss and correct it first. As soon as we left the toilet, we saw a beauty casually take out a player's heart. The blood splattered on his face was extremely strange. The wriggling tentacles behind him showed indescribable horror. He disgustedly wiped the blood on his hand and took off his head to tidy it carefully. I was stunned on the spot, until that head turned towards me. Why was the live broadcast blocked just now, when she and that female ghost entered the toilet? It stopped broadcasting. I thought she was dead. Oh no. This time she is really doomed. The boss of this instance hates players the most. No player who is seen by him survives. Light a candle. Rest in peace. I looked at the scene in front of me with complicated eyes. The man hurriedly put his head back on and kicked the corpse at his feet far away as if nothing had happened. Baby. Why are you here? Come. Honey. Let me take you to sleep. It's not good for girls to stay up late. The barrage exploded. It turns out that this is the toughest relationship among people with connections. The runaway little wife of the big boss? I resisted Soren, who was covered in blood, and wouldn't let him get close. His eyes were red. He squatted in front of me pitifully and pulled at the corner of my clothes with his clean hand. Baby. If I say we are doing magic tricks, will you believe me? I pinched his beautiful little face and said fiercely on purpose. You actually dared to deceive me. I will break up with you for one day. Soren was anxious. He looked like he was about to break. Don't abandon me. It's all because this horror game made me work overtime. That's why I didn't have time to go back and accompany baby. I didn't mean to hide it from you. Isn't it because I'm afraid you'll be scared? You always scream when watching horror movies. My old face flushed. This is just finding an excuse to throw myself into his arms. Who would be scared of such poor special effects? Soren is a bug in a love game. He is a student who appeared out of nowhere. The identity label on his head is a string of question marks. Since he appeared, the classmates around him have become more and more vivid. The biggest flaw is that his appearance is even more superior than the school grass. There is no reason why he can't be a target to be pursued romantically. I am an awakened passerby NPC and also a big face control. Naturally, I was fascinated by him, in addition to watching the plot. I was in love with him every day. Now I am told that he is actually the big boss of the horror game next door. Before, it was a system loophole that brought him to our side. He scolded the system severely, and then hugged me tightly. Sore unrubbed my neck. The tentacles behind him wriggled pleasingly. Damn system. It actually pulled my wife to be a player. Wife? I didn't mean to hide it from you. The system's voice suddenly appeared. The previous cold mechanical voice now became a little flattering. Dear Mavis player. Due to a system mistake, the wrong person was pulled. Now compensation is given. Identity and tasks have been corrected. I watched my player panel change from black to pink. The player identity was also changed to a love pursuer. Main task, pursue Soren. Pursuit progress, 100. Soren smiled pleasingly at me, making my heart flutter. Those barrages followed everywhere. This player is something. The boss actually didn't kill her. Could this be love at first sight? I have to say that the boss is really so handsome that it makes people and gods angry. None of the celebrities can compare to him. I remember that there was a female player who wanted to seduce the boss by relying on her maxed out charm skill. Then she was skinned alive. The system blocked our conversation. Only I can be seen standing there properly as if I should have died. And I am still held in the boss's arms and kissed. I refused Soren's request to follow me back to the dormitory. I haven't had enough fun yet. The players share a dormitory with 2 people. The person with me is actually the little white flower. The little white flower is named Milena. Her delicate and weak appearance always arouses others' desire to protect. When Milena saw me coming back, she smiled and motioned to me. Are you also a newbie? You are so lucky. You were actually asked such a simple question. Did you get a lucky item? At the beginning of each instance, everyone will get an item, but I don't have one. Maybe it's a bug. I can only see the barrage that others can't see. I didn't get anything else. She didn't know. She just continued to say enviously, I am also a newbie. Let's help each other. My item is that it makes me run fast. What about you? I said bluntly that I didn't have one. Mylena obviously didn't believe it but didn't continue to ask. Tonight is a silent night. Please don't make any noise. Sound will attract strange beings. Please quickly escape the room and run to the dorm supervisor. As soon as the system broadcast ended, a burst of ringing came from the next room. Someone's phone alarm wasn't turned off. The door of the next room was slammed open. A rapid series of footsteps ran farther and farther. But it seemed that one of them was caught by the strange being. After a shrill scream, there was no more movement. Then there was the sound of crunching bones. Mylena hid in the corner and trembled. She tightly covered her mouth for fear of making any sound. But an accident still happened. Her shaking body knocked down a glass on the table. In the quiet night, the sound of glass breaking was extremely clear. A pitch-black figure directly climbed in from the balcony. Under her messy hair was a huge mouth. She was still chewing on the arm of the previous victim. Mylena screamed. As soon as I helped her up, she pushed me hard towards the strange being. Then she ran out without looking back and even slammed the door shut at the end. I looked at the strange being face to face and slowly raised my hand to say hello. Hey. Emiliana. See you again. Emiliana viciously bit off the arm and stared closely at the door with her scarlet eyes. That woman actually dared to push you. She is doomed. Mavis. Don't be so gullible in the future. You actually pulled her. I touched my nose. Who would have thought that the seemingly harmless little white flower would stab me in the back? If I were a real player, I would definitely be killed by her. Mylena was almost at the dorm supervisor. She looked back at me mockingly. So stupid. This is a horror game. Useless kindness will only kill oneself. It seems that she was just lucky in the classroom before. I thought she was some kind of pretending to be weak master. In a place she couldn't see, the barrage silently scrolled by. This Mylena woman is really ruthless. How many players has she tricked? After passing for game instances, she is still pretending to be a newbie. She just pulls new players to be her scapegoats. Don't you know about Mylena stabbing her best friend in the back in the real world? Her boyfriend wanted to kill her. Her best friend took the knife for her. As a result, she locked the person outside the door. In the end, her best friend was broken into pieces and died without a whole body. Mylena was almost at the bright place. She happily quick in her pace. Suddenly, a hand pierced her chest. That hand grabbed the still beating heart and sighed regretfully. Your heart is actually red. I thought it was black. Mylena stared wide-eyed in fear. There was a flash of regret and annoyance in her eyes. A girl covered in blood stood in front of her. The girl tilted her head. The flesh on her body fell off one after another. It was the best friend who was killed by Mylena. I had no idea about this. I happily chatted with Emiliana all night. The next day, the surviving players came out of their rooms one after another. They looked haggard and hadn't slept all night. Mylena is actually dead. That newbie is still alive. Isn't it? How could a player favored by the boss die? Soren came to pick me up wearing a white shirt. I once again sighed that my vision was really good. I happily threw myself at him and gave him a kiss. The system broadcast sounded again. Please players go to the cafeteria for a meal. Be careful not to violate the cafeteria rules. My system also had a new task. Please enjoy delicious food in the cafeteria with your boyfriend. Soren held my hand and walked slowly on campus. It was really a bit uncomfortable, not accompanying the pursuer through the plot anymore. Usually, players in the cafeteria will always clumsily spill food on the school grass. Then a good show of having no money and having to be a maid will be staged. I like to rush to line up first and snatch my favorite food when everyone gathers around to watch the excitement. The players blocked the counter. Their faces were pale. In the window, there were no longer braised pork rotters, fish-flavored shredded pork, and twice-cooked pork. Instead, there were spicy human brains, chopped pepper eyeballs, and pickled pepper hands. But the system prompts that meals must be taken in the cafeteria. Wang Ji and Dex, while I took the lead and got a portion of small green vegetables and white rice. The cafeteria aunt put one on the bowl with a spoon. How about some human brains? Kids who eat so little won't do. Xwell refused with a pale face but didn't notice that all the classmates around had looked over. Other players also followed suit and only got green vegetables and rice. I pulled Soren and rushed to the counter. Looking at these strange-looking dishes, I was drooling and looked at the cafeteria and eagerly. Aunt Shang. Is this all? Every time Aunt Shang gave me food, she would secretly add a lot of meat and give me extra food. Aunt Shang already knew that I was here. She brought 2 boxes full of food from the back kitchen and handed them to us. Mavis. Eat more. If it's not enough. Aunt still has more. The players looked at the heaping food in my hand in shock. I guarded my share warily. A tall and strong man came over with his own meal. His eyes were greedy and he reached out to snatch my lunchbox. Hey. Girls who eat so much can't get married. I'll be kind and help you solve this problem. Everyone is eating vegetables. But only you have such a rich meal. How about sharing some with everyone? Soren grabbed his hand and twisted it back. A pig-like scream soared into the sky. The strong man's dinner plate fell. And the rice was scattered all over the floor. Don't waste food. Aunt Shang appeared in front of him instantly. Then, regardless of the strong man's struggle, she pulled him to the back kitchen. Soon, an additional dish of braised pork was added at the food stall. Brother Wang's face was ugly, and he looked at me with complicated eyes. Other players couldn't help but start vomiting, but they swallowed hard to avoid wasting food. How dare they snatch food from the boss's woman in front of him? I've never seen such brainless players. Seeing that they are treated specially by the strange being, they still dare to snatch food. Are they afraid of dying too late? Among the players, there was a girl who stared at Soren blankly after finishing eating. Her eyes were unfocused. She didn't know what she was thinking. Her face flushed red, and she couldn't help but laugh out loud. Soren turned my head that was watching the excitement and leaned over to pick up the rice grain at the corner of my mouth with his mouth. He looked at me with gentle eyes and played with the hand of mine that wasn't holding chopsticks. How about I take you to an amusement park after this instance is over? As an NPC in a love game, I spend most of my time on campus and rarely have the opportunity to unlock new scenes. I excitedly smacked my lips and smeared his face with oil. The girl on the player's side seemed to have made up her mind. She walked towards us. Hello. I'm Saria. Can we get to know each other? Although she was talking to me, her eyes were on Soren's face. She tucked her hair behind her ear, revealing her delicate side profile. My mouth was full of food, and I couldn't speak with my puffed cheeks. Saria had a hint of contempt in her eyes and then cockathiously said to Soren, "Handsome guy. Can I come with you? I'm still a newbie and don't understand anything." I sneered. She actually wanted to snatch my boyfriend. As an NPC in a love game, I've seen many players like words and actions. But this is the first time someone has dared to do it in front of me. Soren said infuriately. Not a girlfriend. My eyes wide and instantly, my sinful little hand reached for his waist and was about to give a hard twist. Before Saria could speak after hearing this, she was interrupted. He grabbed my naughty hand and gave it a light kiss. His eyes were full of love. She's my wife. Saria stamped her foot unwillingly, but she couldn't say anything. She lowered her head, revealing her fair neck, and said shyly, "Big shot. As long as you take me through the instance, I'll do anything for you." Saria is a beautiful woman. She can be said to be at the level of a school beauty. Even I am tempted, but now she actually wants to snatch my dear boyfriend. No matter how beautiful she is, it won't work. I wiped my mouth with Soren's closed corner and then slapped Saria with lightning speed. She covered her face in disbelief and pointed at me and screamed, "You actually dared to hit me. Now we are in a terrifying world. Big shots can have as many women as they want. Why are you so jealous? Who do you think you are?" Saria still wanted to throw herself into Soren's arms. Tears rolled down like strings of beads. Soren directly kicked her away. She landed heavily on the desks of other classmates. In the end, she used her prop, a substitute doll, to escape. Sariel looked as if she wanted to tear me apart. The exam is about to start. Be a good student. Students who fail will be eliminated. The system broadcast ended again. The players looked worried. After all, they didn't know how many years it had been since they graduated from high school. Soren is not only the boss of this single instance, he also has to work part-time in other instances. I hugged him in distress and cursed the black-hearted horror game for exploiting employees. He leaned weakly on my chest and nodded a grieved lie. As soon as he and I returned to the classroom, the elite man with a broken hand blocked me before and threatened. In the exam later. Secretly show me your paper. In the last class. If I hadn't answered such a difficult question first. How could you have such an easy question? He also looked up and down at Soren, who was holding me, and taunted. Later. You also show me the answers. Maybe I'll be merciful and protect you too. A flash of red light appeared in Soren's eyes. And the tentacles behind him were eager to move. The elite man stared at me, lecherous lie, and wanted to touch me. Considering how beautiful you are. If you show me the answers later, I'll reluctantly let you be my woman. I've got a useful prop. As long as you follow me, I'll guarantee that you'll pass the instance. How dare he? He dares to touch the boss's woman. What a big tone. Does he understand the meaning of a good student at all? He still wants to cheat. He is doomed. Soren was about to lose control. The classmates beside us were also staring at the man firmly, as if looking at a dead person. I calmly grabbed his hand, squeezed it to comfort him, and pulled out a meaningful smile at the corner of my mouth. Okay. Then let's help each other. The elite man nodded in satisfaction. The exam began. Great. Not a single question could be answered. I calmly drew on the paper. Anyway, this wasn't part of my task. Soren stared at me adoringly, looking at my drawing. His ears turned red. The elite man looked at the test paper in front of him, and turned red with frustration. He saw that I didn't stop writing. He anxiously shook the table to get my attention. At this time, the teacher showed an ambiguous smile and glanced lightly at the man. I'll go out for a while. Good children should be self-conscious. After the teacher left, many classmates began to whisper and even exchange papers. When the elite man saw that everyone was cheating, he heaved a sigh of relief. Then he directly stood up and snatched my paper. The Q versions Soren I drew on the paper seemed to be laughing at the man, making him so angry that his head was smoking. You were actually drawing during the exam. You want to die. But I don't. He didn't plan to look at Soren's paper either because he hadn't written anything just now. Soren was so angry that his face split. He was about to kill the man regardless of the rules. I pulled his clothes corner and shook my head. Why violate the rules? After all, he will die soon. Emiliana and several other girls who were close to me couldn't wait to rush up and eat the man when they saw him treating me like this. The elite man sat back with a black face and crumpled the paper into a ball and threw it back to me. He tentatively peeked at other people's papers. No one stopped him. Then the man couldn't stop himself and directly copied answers from every classmate. After the exam ended, the teacher came back slowly. The elite man glanced at me proudly and handed in his filled-out paper. When the grades came out, he was full of confidence. Mavis and Soren. Full marks. The teacher's smile almost reached the back of her ears. She opened her big mouth and was ready to enjoy her delicacy. Lucia couldn't believe it. He pointed at us with his remaining finger. Impossible. I filled it all out. You must have corrected mine and hers wrongly. How could they get full marks when they didn't write a single word? The teacher's smile disappeared instantly. She took out Lucia's test paper. Are you saying that I can even correct a blank paper wrongly? That blank S paper had Lucia's name on it. His pale face couldn't believe it. He directly rushed to the podium and picked up the filled-out paper. This is mine. After an exam, there were even fewer people left. Some passed this level with props, and some purely relied on their strength. Congratulations to the players for passing the exam. A campus hide-and-seek is about to begin. Please hide well on the last night. Don't be caught by the strange beings. Wish everyone a happy game. The originally bustling campus was instantly empty and terrifyingly silent. The players were already exhausted. Hearing that it was the last night, they barely mustered up their spirits. As long as they could survive the last night, they could pass the S-level instance. I urged Soren to go and finish his work. I went to find some fun by myself. Since no strange being in this instance would attack me, he left reluctantly, looking back at me every 3 steps to go to work. Please find a place to hide. The strange beings will start looking for you in 10 minutes. Xwell led several players and ran towards the dormitory building. They planned to hide in the dormitory. Saria, who didn't die before, stood in front of me, sarcastically. Where's your big shot husband? He actually died in the exam level. Now that you have no one to protect you, let's see how I deal with you. She leaned softly in Brother Wang's arms. Brother Wang lewdly pinched her chest and leered at me. I thought you were some high-level player. As a result, you couldn't even pass the second day. Little beauty, follow me. I guarantee that you will safely pass this instance. I rolled my eyes. Is it possible that I am originally a person in this instance? Brother Wang wasn't panicked at all when listening to the countdown. He followed me unhurriedly. Tony got an F-level prop. Invisible potion. Of course. He wasn't panicked. As long as it wasn't an strange being. No strange being could see him. The potion only lasts for 3 hours. It's also enough to survive the 3rd night. Have you forgotten the big boss? He is already an Ultras SF-level strange being. The cold mechanical voice of the system broadcasted. The game begins. All kinds of strange beings on campus began to wander. Emiliana carried her own head and ran towards me, waving continuously. In the eyes of outsiders, it was as if a strange being was showing its teeth and claws and about to eat people. But I was scared and frozen in place. Saria was waiting to see my misfortune. I moved my leg. Tony said, "It's not too late if you agree now. If it gets closer, you'll be dead for sure." Saria looked at me jealously, seeing that I didn't care at all. At the moment Emiliana approached, she suddenly pushed me towards Emiliana. Saria spoke maliciously. "Let's see how you get out of this time. You actually dared to slap me." They thought I would definitely be torn to pieces by the strange being. Unexpectedly, I was caught steadily by Emiliana. Emiliana seemed to really not be able to see the two of them. She teasingly said with a smile, "Although I know I'm beautiful, you don't need to rush over so eagerly." Seeing that I was actually chatting with the strange being, they felt a chill all over. They turned around and wanted to run away. I didn't give them a chance. I pointed in his direction. "Can't you see there are 2 people there?" Emiliana shook her head in confusion following the direction of my finger. This time, Saria was relieved. She pulled Tony. "What are you afraid of? That strange being can't see us at all. We can do whatever we want to her now." Tony suddenly realized and became cocky again. "That's right. The strange being can't see us at all. As long as she can't find us, she can't kill us. Now, little beauty, you'd better obey me. Even if you know the strange beings, they can't save you now." Tony planned to let Saria hold me down. She arrogantly ran in front of Emiliana to provoke. What gave them the illusion that I was powerless? I stretched my bones. Emiliana stared in astonishment as I hit the air. Saria and Tony combined were no match for me. I beat them up like pigs. He was in so much pain that he rolled on the ground. He was filled with fear and wanted to escape. Saria lowered her head, and her expression couldn't be seen. I showed off by lifting Tony in front of Emiliana. "This player is for you." He still wanted to touch me. Emiliana glared fiercely at the air in front of her after hearing this. Although she couldn't see it, she could touch it. Tony was so scared that he peed his pants. looking at Emilina's big bloody mouth. He quickly begged for mercy. No. Don't. Saria took advantage of my inattention and took out a knife from somewhere. She ferociously pounced on me, and the sharp knife was about to stab. I was so scared that I closed my eyes tightly. No matter how good my kung fu is, I'm still afraid of a kitchen knife. The pain didn't come. When I opened my eyes again, Saria's head was crushed by Soren. She still maintained the posture of holding the knife. My legs were weak. Before I could throw myself into his arms, he pouted, and his eyes were red. Like a little dog, he rubbed against my neck. Mavis, you scared me. From now on, I have to tie you to my belt to feel at ease. I hadn't recovered yet and had to comfort my dear boyfriend. In a daze. I actually agreed to many treaties that humiliated the country and forfeited its sovereignty. At the end of the game, congratulations to the remaining players for passing. After the campus hide and seek ended, there was actually no one left alive. Originally, the small team led by Xwa had a chance to win. But when a player couldn't keep up with the team and was targeted by the strange being, Xwa decisively pushed the person out of the team. That player was also vengeful. Even though his body was half-eaten, he still took the strange being and ran to the dormitory where the team was hiding. Total annihilation. Now I have become a dual identity. During the day, I continue to act as a passerby NPC in the love game and show off my love with Soren by the way. At night, I pretend to be a horror game player and mix in to help the strange beings complete their KPIs. Then one day, a mechanical voice of the horror game system appeared again. Congratulations on being selected as a player in the rule-based Strange Talk. The first instance. Moon Amusement Park. I was dumbfounded and teleported to the amusement park. Why am I caught again to make up the numbers?